Hello, everyone, and welcome to the codePlanet podcast. I'm Dr. Zaheed, and I'm so glad to have you with me today. Over the years, from university lecture theaters to vibrant school classrooms, I've had the privilege of working with students across a wide spectrum of ages, backgrounds, and abilities. One thing that has stood out across all those experiences is the powerful influence of parenting on student behavior and learning. Today's episode is titled, The Impact of Parenting Styles on Student Behavior and Learning Engagement. It's a topic that's close to my heart, shaped by decades of real-world observations and countless conversations with students, teachers, and parents alike. Some of what I'll share might resonate with you. Some parts may challenge your perspective. And that's entirely okay, because parenting, like education, is nuanced, deeply personal, and always evolving. Let's dive in. 1. Children mirror their parents. There's a popular saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And after decades of teaching, I've come to see just how deeply true that is. In my classroom, children often arrive not just with a backpack full of books and gadgets, but with an invisible toolkit shaped by home, a set of emotional responses, social cues, and behavioral norms passed down, sometimes unconsciously, from their parents. Children are incredible observers. They may not always follow instructions, but they always observe and absorb. How their parents treat others, how they handle frustration, how they speak about honesty, kindness, and responsibility. All of these things register. Over time, they become part of the child's own behavioral vocabulary. When children come from homes where honesty is practiced, kindness is modeled, and resilience is encouraged, they tend to walk into class carrying those same values. These students are open and transparent about their work. They help others without being prompted. They accept feedback without defensiveness. They are often wise, friendly, warm, and emotionally aware, well beyond their years. And in my experience, there's a higher probability that these children are also more consistent and academically strong. Not because they're inherently more intelligent, but because they feel emotionally secure, valued, and supported. That emotional stability often translates into better focus, stronger communication skills, and a greater willingness to engage and persevere through challenges. But the opposite is also true, and equally important to recognize. Some children come from homes where inconsistency is the norm, or where manipulative behaviors are modeled. I've seen this in many subtle ways, including during parent interactions. For example, I've encountered parents who try to bend the rules, delay or skip payments, or quit without notice, and then I see their children in class, often distracted, overly cautious, or hesitant to trust instructions and group norms. These children aren't less capable or less intelligent. In fact, they often show signs of hyper-awareness, constantly scanning for cues, testing boundaries, or second-guessing rules. They're not being difficult for the sake of it. They're simply navigating the classroom with the behavioral compass they've inherited, one shaped by unpredictability or a lack of clear moral boundaries at home. It's easy to mislabel such children as unfocused or troublesome, but that's a surface-level judgment. The reality is more complex and more human. These students are trying to make sense of a world that hasn't always played fair, and they carry that uncertainty with them into every new learning environment. 2. Kids act differently when parents are watching. This one always fascinates me, how differently kids behave when their parents are in the room. In my coding workshops, I sometimes invite parents to observe, and the moment they sit in, some children become reserved and quiet, even anxious. Others suddenly act dependent, asking for help on tasks they usually manage with ease. Why does this happen? because when a parent is present, the classroom can stop feeling like a space for exploration and start feeling like a performance stage. Kids either try to impress, avoid mistakes, or lean on their parent for constant guidance. As educators, we gently encourage children to stay in their usual learning mindset and remind parents that silent observation, not intervention, is the most supportive thing they can offer in that moment. 3. Helicopter. Parenting versus independence. Now, let's talk about helicopter parenting. We all want to protect our kids, but there's a fine line between supporting them and controlling them. Some of the students I've taught come from homes where the parents manage everything: decisions, routines, even how the child reacts to setbacks. The outcome? These children often struggle to think independently. They hesitate, wait for approval, and avoid risks. In contrast, students from homes that promote safe, age-appropriate independence tend to be more confident. They try, fail, try again, and that's exactly what coding and life require. Creative problem-solving, resilience, initiative, these are skills that flourish when children are given the space to struggle and grow. 4. Real-life stories. Alex and Beth. Let me bring this to life with 2 composite examples. Fictionalized, but based on real patterns I've observed. Alex comes from a home where honesty and kindness are lived values. His parents encourage effort over perfection. In class, Alex is open, helpful, and cooperative. He doesn't hide his mistakes. He owns them and learns from them. Beth, on the other hand, comes from a home with shifting rules and inconsistent consequences. In class, she's cautious and easily distracted. She's often suspicious of tasks, unsure whether things are fair or if there's a catch. Her trust radar is always on alert. Both are bright students, but how they show up in class reflects what they've internalized at home. High five. What can we do? So, what's the takeaway for parents and educators? For parents, strive for a healthy balance between structure and freedom. Trust your child. Let them take age-appropriate risks, learn from mistakes, and make decisions. Be consistent with values like honesty, responsibility, and empathy, because kids absorb more from what we do than from what we say. For teachers, try to understand the home background. Celebrate effort, not just outcomes. Encourage risk-taking and treat failure as part of the learning process. Also, open lines of communication with parents. They often don't realize how deeply their behavior echoes through their children. Final thoughts. Here's the truth I've come to believe after all these years. Parenting casts a long shadow. It shapes how children learn, how they behave, and how they engage with the world around them. Our classrooms aren't isolated bubbles. They're extensions of the values and practices from home. And when homes are filled with trust, honesty, and respect, that same spirit shows up in the classroom. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, take care, and keep raising learners who are not only smart, but also kind, brave, and honest. Thanks for tuning in to the codePlanet podcast. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to like, share, and follow.